Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the LPP, also known as the Little Prince podcast. I first wanted to say thank you for joining me on this lovely day, and if you're new here, hello. I'm the Little Prince, and I hope you're familiar with my story. As you know, I usually don't talk about my story, but instead about how I feel about what's going on in the world. Last week, we talked about NASA declaring Pluto as a planet yet again. While I never traveled to Pluto, I've heard that it's pretty nice there, and I'm very happy for its reinstatement. If you guys wanted to hear more of my thoughts there, feel free to listen to last week's podcast. As for this week, I've been getting a lot of questions lately about how I came to live on my small planet and where I came from before that. So, due to the high volume of questions, I've picked a few to respond to for you guys for today. Our first question comes from a user named Chelsea. Chelsea sent in the question, "We all know you're pretty curious. Where do you think that came from?" Thanks for that question, Chelsea. Aside from my parents, which we'll get into a little bit later, I think my curiosity comes from my name. Ever since I could remember, I've been very interested in numerology, which is this study that can tell you who you are and what you care about based on letters in your name. It's kind of like horoscopes, but with numbers instead of when you were born. Basically, each letter in the alphabet corresponds to a number 1 through 9. The Little Prince adds up to 77, which you then add together again to get 14, and then one more time to get a single digit of 5. And that's my character number. You can also use just the vowels to get your heart or soul number, and then the consonants to get your social number, not your social security number. That's a totally different thing, and you should never tell other people what it is. Long story short, 5s are known for being curious, energetic, and worldly, but also irresponsible and unstable, which explains a lot, honestly. If you think back to my story, I was pretty unstable at some points and rather irresponsible too, so that makes sense. And then the curiosity and energetic, well, we can see how that plays in. And worldly, I guess I'm multi-worldly now, aren't I? Yeah, I'd say so. If you guys haven't looked into numerology, I highly recommend it. And honestly, if you don't like what you get out of it, you can always just be like, "Oh, well, numerology, it's not real and whatever." You know, a lot of people say that, and who really knows if it's real or not, but let's move on to the next question. All right, this question comes from someone who goes by, "I have to do this for French class," and, well, good for you for getting it done. They'd like to know how I ended up on planet B612 in the first place. All right, so this one's a bit of a long and complex story, so I'm going to give you the shortest answer that I can in interest of not boring any of you guys. I was actually born on Earth, but didn't stay there long enough to remember it at all. You see, my parents liked to travel the universe, but they were both very sick. They knew that they would pass before they got the chance to teach me all I needed to know about life, so they created B612 as a home for me. This planet had everything I needed to survive, so they knew I'd be safe. They also left me with the Rose and all the other planets as a way to teach me all they knew before I returned to Earth. It was kind of like their way of leaving me a school lesson, and more of a life lesson, I suppose, as they knew I'd go to each planet, and they knew all the people on those planets, so I guess they were really just looking out for me. But that's how I ended up there, and I'm really happy for that opportunity, even though I wish that my parents could have had the chance to teach me what they knew in person. I really appreciate what they did for me, and I'll always be gracious towards them. All right, I'm going to pick one more question before I wrap up today's show. This question comes from a user called The Average Size Prince. Good one. And he asks, if you could change your name to anything, what would you change it to? I love this question. Anytime someone asks, I'm getting excited. All right, so as much as I love my name, and I do love it, I think that little implies that there's another prince who's bigger than me. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm the little prince, then who's the big prince? And does that mean that there's other princes that are various sizes? Is there like a minuscule prince and is there a gigantic prince? But like, how do we know? And who are they and where are they? Like, I'd like to meet them. Are they better princes than me anyway? So I've always just felt a little bit inferior to this non-existent big prince and a little bit superior to this non-existent minuscule prince. Long story short, if I could change my name, I would just change it to The Prince. I thought about changing it to Prince, but then I'd have to deal with everyone thinking I'm a singer or imitating a singer, and I really can't live up to Prince's legacy. I mean, he was amazing. So I think I'd just settle on Prince. No, The Prince. Yeah, that's what we decided. The Prince. Okay. Anyways, I guess that's all the questions I'm going to take today. But I wanted to thank you guys for being so interested and curious about where I came from and who I was before I was the little prince. So, thank you for listening, and make sure you tune in next week because we're talking about my opinions on Saturn's rings. And let's be real, a lot of people think they're overrated, but what do I think about them? Are they overhyped? Are they underhyped? Are they just the correct amount of hyped? You'll find out next week, so make sure you tune in. This has been LPP, and I'm out.